Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. My name is Troy Wayne. I'm the product manager, sales manager at Zyxel North America. Good to have you. If you are a new partner with us, thank you for considering or becoming a partner with us. So today we have a lot of slides to cover. I also like for it to be a little bit interactive as well. So if you feel like you want to ask a question, anything like that, please use the Q&A section and I'll get to them either in line or we'll try to answer them at the end of the presentation. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of slides that we want to go through. There's a lot of things that Zyxel does, and we want you as a partner or as a new partner to kind of get an overview of some of the things that we think is very important in our relationship and our partnership with you. We want to be here to help you, excel in what you do, and we want to be your ally in all your networking needs. So let's just jump right into it, and let's see where we go. We got a lot of slides, like I mentioned, but first of all, we want to introduce you to Zyxel. Zyxel Networks comprises of, a company that has over 700 passionate employees worldwide, serving 150 markets. We've been in business for 33 years now. Over 1 million businesses work with Zyxel products today. 250,000 of those are in our Nebula Cloud platform that I'm going to introduce to you today as well. 100 million devices making connections globally. So we are a global company and providing solutions across all sorts of businesses and spaces. And we're trusted to deliver the connectivity and networks for millions of different people using it through a lot of these partners like Best Westerns, retail stores like Subway, KFC, Domino's, hotels also like Hilton and Radisson as well. So we have a lot of partnerships there. We work with also industry leaders and partner with them to providing their technologies, their solutions into our products. So either that or is providing, awareness of our products or even interoperability. Customers or partners like A10, McAfee, Norton, Webroot. Those are the integrations that we have in our security products and in our wireless, and also in different applications like video over IP and network AV and voice over IP type applications, both locally and in the cloud. We're here to serve you. We're a channel-based company. So we have a channel that we offer to you with our sales reps that manage the different states within the United States and Canada. So these are the representatives that will be, servicing you. David, Chen, Andy, and Jacob will basically is the East, Central, and the West regions. So depending on which states you are, those are the people that we want you to have, day-to-day contact with. We can help you with pre-sales, post-sales, tech support. If you need, questions that are going through distribution as well. So we can be your ally there and help to facilitate anything you need from that resort, in inventory or even questions. Again, bringing in system engineers to help you out with maybe a new project you're working on. So we're here to help you and be partners with you in that regard. We are solutions driven because we want to drive our product development and our feature sets based on what you as partners feedback to us. Because we create the firmware, we create the hardware, we love to know about that, and we can provide that and provide you an end-to-end ecosystem for all of our products, making sure that it works well for you from a management standpoint, from an installation standpoint, and then works well for your customers, for their customer satisfaction as well. So we want to integrate all of that, and because we have the full control, we love to have your feedback to do that. Comprehensive portfolio end-to-end, like I mentioned, security appliances, wireless solutions, Ethernet with and without fiber, PoE, gateway solutions for guest network access, and then management, both standalone and in the cloud. So I pretty much tell new partners and any of our partners that if you have anything that connects to a network, whether it be wired or wireless, we have some sort of solution that can connect it. So keep us in mind for that. We provide effortless connectivity. And this is really one of the main kind of themes and topics for Zyxel, and what we're promoting and what we want to inform you about is our Nebula, our Zyxel Nebula platform. It provides that scalability connectivity for a lot of your networks that you might be managing out there. No longer do you need your own platform, your own kind of software to manage or to build the backdoor VPN or build ways to get into the network, to manage these types of devices. You can do that all within to configure and deploy network devices in the cloud, or using the cloud to deploy it within your customer base. You could even do it without even unboxing it. And it's all centrally managed in that Nebula Cloud platform. There's no additional hardware or software that's required. You can configure and monitor from just any browser. As long as you have internet connectivity and a browser, you have access to kind of the full suite of installation for those product lines that are there. And you don't need any additional cloud keys. You don't have to install a server anywhere within the prem. You don't have to install anything in the cloud to host any kind of service as well. It's all packaged within this cloud platform that you have. And it's scalable. So you can, as you grow your business, as you have more customers, then that system just grows with you. So you don't need to invest in a large system just, and hope that you have your customers that can fulfill that. You could be up and launching in just mere minutes. Simple clicks here to get yourself running, downloading firmware automatically, getting the new configurations, all part of that zero-touch provisioning efforts that are available within the Nebula platform. You have access to that data and that information, troubleshooting, anywhere, anytime. Again, wherever you have a browser access, you can set up your customers remotely. You can do and troubleshoot things that might come up when you're not necessarily even sitting at the control center itself or in your tech support. But you have access anywhere to configure, monitor any alerts and alarms and anything that might be affecting that network. You'll have visibility and information at the touch of your fingertips. You get that network clarity that we think from a perspective in IT. Everybody wants to know what's going on with the network. I think long gone are the days where you just kind of deploy something that is just a port, because the reason is that you want to have the ability, in case there is a problem remotely or a customer calls in and says, hey, something's going on, or I can't access something. You want to be able to dive in, be able to have that connectivity and see what's going on. Who is having that connection? Maybe there's a bad port. Maybe there's a bad connection. Maybe the wire is bad. So you're able to manage all of your different customers under a single pane of glass, all of them, separated by different organizations, and each organization can have multiple sites. So you can manage a company, like a retail company that has multiple sites and under a single pane. And then you can upgrade firmwares. You can schedule that. You can do all those kinds of management things that you would typically do. You have information at your fingertips. So logs from the last 12 months, when you're using the Pro package. So it helps to reduce those IT costs, and it gives you that flexibility and accessibility to that information wherever you may need. You also have access to guest network capabilities. A lot of businesses today are asking, hey, can you bring in that connectivity? Can you bring in build that network? But I would love for my clients, my customers, to be able to have access to the network, since I'm already bringing in that internet connectivity. So you can configure guest network portals, with terms of services, captive portal, redirects, and also have it isolated as well. So making sure those guest networks don't have access to the private side of the network. And it allows for you in this cloud platform to be really fast, efficient, scheduling again of firmware updates or configuration changes or mass changes across kind of multiple sites within the organization. Maybe you have to change or update VPN rules, or maybe DNS information, or even login account information. That could also be managed within that cloud system as well. All of that is packaged within the Nebula cloud platform. Also with the built-in user management capabilities, if you're doing two-factor authentication, maybe WPA Enterprise, where people have to use a login in order to get into the wireless side, or even just basic user access. You can now control all of that within the Nebula cloud platform and use that to as your authenticator, rather than having your own Radius server or whatever. But you can use that as your authentication piece to managing the customer's access into those networks. So both private and also public connectivity. So all of that, especially when people are working from home, you want to have that visibility. You want to have that capability to keep them connected securely. So being able to establish, LTTP VPNs, site-to-site VPNs, or IPsec type VPNs for different hub spoke, for maybe site-to-site, but also from the client side, remote users, remote workers that are connecting into, the office space. So you can set up those VPNs and configurations within, again, the central cloud platform as well for that particular customer. And it gives you a customized view for each customer if you'd like to. All of these dashboards are customizable for the sites, for the organizations, but it gives you that power of seeing all the relevant information that you want. So this is our award-winning cloud networking platform. We call it Nebula. So you'll enter into the control center here and be able to see access information, who's downloaded what, used the most bandwidth, what websites people have gone to, what applications are using the most or being used the most, a number of clients that are currently there, or even the PoE consumption. A lot of that information, again, click through, it's very intuitive where you can click in and drill into finding more information. So it's very helpful if you're trying to troubleshoot a customer, maybe troubleshoot a wireless customer, and have that ability to see what their wireless signal is and which access point they're connected to, which switch they're connected to. So drilled all the way down into that and troubleshoot as you need to. With notifications as well, being up to date on when something does happen. This is the power of when a customer calls you. You probably would know that something's already been, something has already happened with these kinds of alerts before the customer even realizes maybe the connection's down or maybe the AP is even down. A lot of times what happens is maybe an access point goes down and people are just having degraded service because they're connected to a farther access point in the office. And they're just seeing kind of maybe general slowness. And after a while, they finally call you. But if that access point is down and you've been notified, you may have already been sending somebody out there or just starting to troubleshoot it, or maybe even just sending a reboot, command through the PoE switch to reboot that. But those notifications can help you with providing that layer of managed services that a customer would expect if they're going to be paying, a monthly service for you to have active management of the network. And if you want to find out more, learn more about how a lot of our partners are using that managed service kind of business model, Nebula is a great platform for that, and we'd love to point you into and send you some feedback from direct partners that will tell you how they're using this platform now to providing that. We have over 80 devices now supported in the Nebula platform, and every new product that comes out in the business class, that is one of the top priorities, is to make sure that it works within the Nebula Cloud platform and being able to manage it within there. So 80, a very comprehensive portfolio from wireless to switches to gateways, all being made manageable in the Nebula platform. We have 10 to 2 flavors of it. When you buy hardware, you'll notice some of them will say Nebula Flex and some will say Nebula Flex Pro. Just keep in mind, Nebula Flex, it's a product that it's optional to be within Nebula. And you just have to buy licenses for them in order to activate the Nebula Pro side. When a product hardware, when you buy it, says it's a Nebula Flex Pro product, typically that means it's already been, it includes 1 year of the professional pack level of, the Nebula Cloud platform. Now, the cool thing is that whether or not you decide to buy a license or have a license included, it is actually a free platform. So we have a free option within our Nebula Cloud platform. So, in order to compete against some of the ones that have maybe a low cost or even free services, we provide that tier as well. It gives you 7 days of logs, but for most like MSPs, they're moving to the Pro Pack because it's very cost effective, very minimal in cost per year per device. To the fact that you can then, it makes sense for you to charge a monthly fee for this kind of access. And many MSPs, even if they didn't charge the customer, using the free base pack to get visibility into that network is a great benefit either way. So whether you choose to go base pack or Pro Pack, it's on a kind of per site, per organization basis. So it depends on your customer. If they're a paid MSP customer, you can then move them to a Pro Pack and get full visibility, full feature set. And if they're not a paying customer, you can still use the free, right? So there's, again, advantages of using both. There's a plus pack in between that does give you some other features. We do have a battle card data sheets that kind of tell you the differences between them. And then if you are managing, if you have a bigger organization of an MSP, you're a bigger MSP type customer, maybe you have multiple techs or even regional techs for support, then the MSP pack allows for you to assign, different technicians to different, groups or to different customer, that you define as maybe a region. So it allows for you to manage it a lot easier, especially if there's like people who come and go from the support side. You can easily manage that with the MSP pack. So that's kind of an add-on pack that you would subscribe to in order to make that cross-organizational kind of thing easier for you to manage. So I want to jump. That was kind of the overview of Nebula, which is the encompassing cloud technology that really empowers partners to, delivering these kinds of networking solutions. So now I'm going to go and dive in a little bit deeper into the individual product lines. First up is Wi-Fi. Everybody uses Wi-Fi. It's a expected technology wherever we go. We go to a coffee shop, we go to a hotel, we go to an amusement park, we go even to public areas, an open park. There's Wi-Fi everywhere, and people are expecting that some way they can connect to it, even though their cell phones have maybe built-in unlimited data, or maybe some don't have unlimited data. But being able to connect to a Wi-Fi usually ensures faster speeds, more reliability. But of course, there's a lot of things within the technology that people don't realize that might actually hinder it or maybe cause more problems, because Wi-Fi is a technology that is in a space that is just competing within the air. So we want to make sure that you understand some of the differences between what Zyxel offers and the technologies that we provide and why it's different. So when you look at Zyxel, we are only one of 2 vendors that have this kind of technology. It's called smart antenna technology. It's an award-winning wireless technology that's built into our pretty much our flagship type product lines. So the higher end that you typically see, we'll see some of the models there. And those are the ones that you might want to use in consideration for some of these applications, or maybe some of these difficulties that you might face. So there's a lot of pain points with Wi-Fi. Maybe I've added more APs. Why am I not getting better throughput? Why am I not getting better coverage? In a classroom, there's connectivity issues. It seems to be there's a lot of interference. Or in a hotel room, there's people are investing in that and making sure that the connectivity is available, but their customers are still complaining there are still Wi-Fi issues, right? How many of us have called in to the front desk and said, my Wi-Fi stinks and I need you guys to help fix that, or I'm going to leave the hotel, right? There's a lot of that, or you get complaints from your customers that are deploying that. And because there could be a lot of different factors that are going on, or even within your office environment, that could also be an issue. But a lot of times people just kind of suffer through that and don't realize what's happening. So what are the things that happen? Typically what it is the number one reason is co-channel interference. There's only a set number of channels that Wi-Fi is approved to be on. And in order to get better bandwidth, you have to use a bigger pipe and you have to use more of those lanes. And so the technology is happening where it's also a single point to point, almost like a serial connection. I can only talk to one person at a time. And as you add more devices, more interference, more people trying to get that connectivity, you're basically colliding with each other and nobody can get through. So it's kind of like a highway that's merging on, and we don't know how it's going to happen. There's a lot of collisions that's going on, right? So we want to be able to figure out how do we mitigate that. So in typical deployments of Wi-Fi that have some sort of co-channel interference, maybe you have multiple access points in there, and maybe some of the signal, because even if you spread out the different channels, there are some overlaps within that as well. So there's some overlap and bleed over that cause interference. So the more access points you start throwing up in an office, the more interference you are producing. And if you live in a home or an apartment complex or in a multi-tenant unit, there could be other access points that you have zero control over as well, right? So there's a lot of that interference. And again, more people are bringing their own routers, they're bringing their own Wi-Fi. So usually the challenge is you turn down everything, make sure that you're just affecting the area that you want coverage for, but then there's no overlap. So then there's those middle areas that might cause issues when the people are roaming, or they're kind of in that middle space. They don't get very great coverage, or maybe their throughput's bad. So it doesn't quite help as much, right? But it does help a little, but you want to maintain that. You don't want to deploy your APs to just blast full power, everyone is just screaming, right? Because then nobody can hear anybody. So that's really what you want to do, is make sure that you're talking a little bit, in a more controlled environment. With smart antenna, it allows for you to increase capacity, increase coverage, reduce interference across the spectrum of 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And we'll talk about 6 gigahertz in just a minute as well. But this is how it works. Here's an example. We go back to that office space. There's a Wi-Fi access point that's deployed there. Let's say there's some sort of interference. It could be another access point. It could be some other device that's causing interference within there, or even non-Wi-Fi interference. That can all affect clients that are in the office space itself. So you'll have people who come in, have connection issues, or you'll have the classic case of, I see 4 or 5 bars, but I can't pass any traffic, right? That's typically because of interference. If the network is working, right? If your internet itself didn't go down. a lot of times that's the case. So with smart antenna, what it does is it actually looks at and tries out different patterns, up to 700 different patterns, so that it can find within those few milliseconds what is best to communicate with that client. So typically it's like I'm cupping my ears this way, my mouth this way as I talk to you. And then I'm also cupping my ears, so I'm listening better in that direction as well, while reducing interference that's behind me. So smart antenna will do that dynamically and find the shape, even when the client is roaming or moving as well. So it keeps looking and finding the best space for that client. And it, of course, with multiple clients, it's doing that and keeping track of all of that as well. So it cycles through and finds that optimal beam for that. Of course, now Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 coming out, it enhances this as well. So it's going to be even an exponential type growth of how it does that. And so that's just a high level coverage of what it does. From that smart antenna technology. If you want to find out more, we have a lot of documentation, information on how we can, how you can learn more and a little more in depth about how it works and how you can utilize it as well. But overall, our wireless system, our wireless products provide a single click mesh Wi-Fi, especially using our wireless, our Nebula platform. So there's no complex setups. There's no, adoption type process. What's really cool is because we're using Nebula as kind of the configurator or the controller in the cloud, when the device boots up for the first time and tries to connect back to to Nebula, gets its identity. So as long as there's some sort of connection between the device and the internet, it can get its identity, download its firmware, download its configuration. Then it can just be moved then to then it gets the identity of a meshed, maybe unconnected or unwired connected device and be moved to where it is going to be permanently deployed. So then as long as there's power, now it already has the identity to make that mesh. So it's utilizing that smart mesh as well. So it's able for you to make that connectivity easily, quickly as well. We also provide the enterprise class type standards, WPA, WPA3. If you want to do 802.1x authentication with the radius server that's built into Nebula, roaming standards, 802.11r, K, and V for all the assisted roaming. If you need those kinds of applications for quick roam. Now, people always ask me, can I roam? Yes. And it's even if you're not using these technologies specifically, or you're not doing 802.1x authentication, and you need that fast roaming authentication or pre-authentication type services, if it's just an open network, typically that's what people are asking is like, can I have one SSID? People just see one SSID, and as they move through the building or move through the property, they have connectivity, right? And that's the typical case here. And we facilitate that, automatically with the product without having to really configure anything. But we do have some technology, some AIs that will help you as well to improve the quality. We've released what we call also dynamic pre-shared key. And if you want to learn more about how you can use dynamic pre-shared key in the market, how you can use it to improve customer experience while you're having just a single SSID, but based on their pre-shared key that they use, it can put them in different buckets, different networks. So it makes just kind of the simplicity of deployment a lot easier. If you have VoIP devices versus TV devices, they could still connect to the same exact SSID, but based on the pre-shared key, puts them into a different VLAN, right, structure. So that's something that's deployed and, helps to secure that network for even, IoT devices, or to segregate hotel rooms to keep a family unit kind of together if you need it. I mentioned that AI machine learning for wireless, and that's a little bit more of the complex side of it. If you want to configure, fine tune the wireless experience, especially if you have multiple access points that are in a coverage area and you want to kind of maintain the channel, kind of load balance between the different channels, or maybe to optimize it, make sure that customers who can utilize 5 gigahertz are pushed towards 5 gigahertz as a priority. And then if they can't, then it's 2.4 gigahertz is kind of the rest of the customers there, or also being able to load balance them based on their connectivity wireless signal. So as a person roams from one AP and moves to a stronger AP, that we're able to actually disconnect them from the weaker AP so that they can reconnect to the stronger, right? So we can help for that migration, again, to help improve performance and customer use and satisfaction. And we design our RF and we take great pride in that. And so all of our products are shielded, our antennas, our radios, we put on that just to mitigate interference. So we can get very good, throughput and quality of connectivity and customer service, customer satisfaction from that. And so we offer a lifetime warranty on these products. Now with Wi-Fi 6 technology, it's faster. It has bigger capacity, has multiple bands you can work with. You can get up to 10 gigs worth of throughput on these kinds of connectivity. So that's kind of the trend. People are moving towards Wi-Fi 6, of course, and upgrading all of that in the AX space, and then coming up 6E and Wi-Fi 7. So I'm not going to cover Wi-Fi 7 because it's not readily available yet. Products are just starting to become in development stages, but you'll see it probably in the next couple of years where they'll start moving into the business space. But I think most businesses are in the process of figuring out, well, what devices, what kind of wireless solutions do I really need, and to service what I currently am using. Great, I can get 100 gig connectivity within my local network, but my internet connection is still, less than 1 gig. So until that changes, I may not need a full 10 gig if my application is just for email checking and web surfing, right? But there are some benefits if you're working in a CAD type deployment, or maybe hospitality, or in the healthcare where you're sending digital images across the network, then the 10 gig space, makes a lot more sense. So in our AX space, in the Wi-Fi 6, we have a full range of products on the low end that can be Nebula flexed, as well as on the higher end that is Nebula controlled with the Pro as well. So these are Nebula Flex models. I won't go into the details of it, but if you need help to figuring out, well, which kind of product is works for me, a lot of times it's based on budget, because your customer is saying, hey, I have a specific budget, or maybe a specific competitor that you sell that we want to meet that kind of similar product because it works for you, it's good enough, right? But of course, just know that we have a full range from that low end all the way to a high end. So I always say down at the bottom, where maybe the company that I shall not name that starts with U and ends in equity, then that's where we have products that can fully compete and displace all of that. And then on the top of the end, you compete against the high end big boys of Wi-Fi and networking as well. So we have all of that range. So really, again, depends on the application, depends on whether you need like that smart antenna technology. So these are the Pro models that have the Nebula built into it, or the Nebula 1-year licenses built into it. The D just stands for like a directional antenna, whereas the or dual mode like antenna, so it's kind of like that. And the S at the end, like the WAX630S, that's our smart antenna. So anything that has an S at the end of it is deemed our smart antenna technology. And typically there are flagship type models that provide you the highest end capability. So you can see in this particular case, it's a 2.5 gig port, and can take the higher end PoE power as well. And then we have our even higher end WAX. Our 650S is our flagship model that has speeds of up to 3.5 gigs on that, and a 4x4 with a 5 gig multi-gig port. So a lot of that is just, again, technology. Again, when do I use that with space? We're here to help you with that if we need to bring in a system engineer for that. We just also launched our WAX 620D-6E. So this is our first 6E Wi-Fi product that you might be interested in as well, using 6 gigahertz. So it's like typically a tri-band or a dual radio, but tri-band capable, 2.45 gigahertz, and the new 6 gigahertz space. So it's great for if you're doing a backhaul with the 6 gigahertz, or staying in that 6 gigahertz space to have less, less interference with all the other networks. All right, so wired side is very important as well, the wired connection itself. So Ethernet switches, it really is kind of the forgotten backbone. I think Wi-Fi takes all of the fame and all the upfront, prestige, because that's the connection people make. But ultimately, if you have a poor wired connection, or you don't have enough power within the backbone, then that can affect that wireless connectivity, right? So it's important to make sure that the wired connection and infrastructure is secured, it's reliable, and it's capable of delivering all the services, and also future-proofing yourself to delivering those services as well. As more and more things are being added within the network, you still have your voice, your video, your data, all that connectivity. Depending on your application, you can also be delivering security signals or IP camera connectivity, or maybe screen connections, or TV advertisements, whatever it may be, that could also be built within that network. So we are able to have a full range, full line of products that can service any kind of application in that regard. So just a little bit about our naming convention. ES just stands for Ethernet switch. That's typically 100 megabits. GS is our 1 gig, so it's a gigabit switch. MG is typically our multi-gig switch. So it has 2.4 or 5, it's 2.5 or 5 and 10 gig kind of ports. The XS switch is Roman numeral for 10, and that's our 10 gig capable switch. If it just has an XS, that's a 10 gig switch. If you see an XGS, that means it's a gigabit switch by its core. So all of its ports are typically gigabit with 10 gig capable or multi-gig capable uplinks. So that's kind of the naming convention there. We're going to be coming out with a new model called the XMG, and that supports all multi-gig switches. So, keep that in mind as those products come out. If it ends in an HP, that's typically a PoE or PoE++ switch, so the Ultra PoE. So it's like high power PoE basically. EP is what we call kind of like not echo power, but more like eco power. So there's a little typo there. So it's like an economical, lower power budget typically, but good enough for applications like VoIP that don't require a high power budget in a density of those kinds of switches. We'll have some additional models that come out that might have FP. So those are larger power budgets type switches. So more than the standard ones that you typically will find in a 24 or 48 port. And if it ends in just a F, then that stands for fiber switch, meaning that the ports primarily are fiber transceiver ports, and they may have copper uplinks, but they're all fiber based. So if you're delivering fiber to the prem, fiber to the building, or fiber that you're running across, the network to all this place, then that's where what you would use is the fiber versions. And if it has an SFP, SFP plus, that just stands for the fiber port that you use. So it's SFP. SFP plus is a 10 gig, whereas SFP is 1 gig. So you would have to get the appropriate transceivers to using the fiber lines, or if you're just using them to uplink, we do have 1 meter and 3 meter direct attached cables that you can attach and use those for uplinks using fiber ports within the switches, and it's already built with the transceiver on the ends. So PoE, you have your 15 watt, your 30 watt, and then the new Ultra PoE 60 watt technology. So that's the 802.3BT. You'll start seeing, and you already see in some of our switches, but you'll see that as a primary moving forward in new switch products that are out there. But our entire switch product line, we kind of have these general things that help, to maximize the infrastructure of these networks. Our switches have VLANs, voice VLANs, or even automated VLANs, being able to use the OUIs and MAC address information to automatically put and populate those devices into specific VLANs that might get priority, might get bandwidth controlled, however you might want to build that network. It can auto detect connected PoE devices and only send power as it needs to. It also has what we call intelligent PoE or smart PoE. So it can manage the budget based on the actual draw of the device. So you can actually power up more devices than you typically would in a classification mode. So we can just use that consumption of what the device is using and put it towards the budget. So you'll see that in order to power up, you could using our switches, you can, even though the budget may be lower than some of the competitors, it actually can power up more devices than the competitors itself, and not kind of saving you on the power budget from that power supply and the cost as well. So CCTV, IPTV applications, reporting, and using machine learning to make sure that broadcast storms or auto corrections of the connections, and even blocking of connections can be done within the cloud platform, depending on how you've configured it and how you use it. You're able to visualize the network as well. You can detect automatically the network topology when you're using this Nebula Cloud platform with our switches, with our APs, with our gateways. Gives you that whole information, gives you also a virtual stack, the port information. You can click and drill into it to see what devices are in there, what MAC addresses are being pulled, even the IP address information in some cases, depending on what you have on the network. So you can get real-time information, port utilization, traffic utilization, and use that information for troubleshooting. Or maybe you might see, hey, why is this port, is spiking in bandwidth? It's in full capacity. It's going 1 gig for the last like 5 hours, right? You can see that visually within that and be able to kind of drill in deeper and take a look. Maybe that device has been zombied and taken over, or it's being used as a BitTorrent node. Who knows, right? So you're able to now drill in and see that visually and have access to diagnostic tools, even cable remote testing or even fiber testing on those nodes as well using the switch. So very powerful tools, especially from a management standpoint, an IT manager standpoint. It also provides network reliance and security. So turning on 802.1x authentication, backup and restore within the cloud of this configuration, not only for the switch, but across the entire Nebula platform. So you have, security there. You have, assurance that if something does physically go down, maybe there is that you have to replace, then you could swap out very easily. The new product will get its new identity and just basically download the configuration as needed to become that identity again. But port security is very important, especially in a network that might have Ethernet ports that are open. You can prevent people from plugging in a router. DHCP guard and loop guard. A DHCP guard specifically will prevent somebody from accidentally putting the router in the wrong direction, so that their LAN is going into your LAN and it becomes a DHCP and nobody can get access because it's routed all wrong. Being able to close all of that, or even using link aggregation or LACP to link that, or even to do standard tree protocols, so rapid expanded tree, making sure that when you're looping multiple or connecting multiple switches together, you're not causing like a broadcast storm where you've looped the network and causing issues there as well. So we can detect all of that and help you with that configuration. It helps you to automate and auto deploy configurations. So even without unboxing the device, you can scan the QR code and put it into an organization, put it into a site, and give it its identity. And once it calls home back to the Nebula cloud, that's part of the zero provisioning. It will just then download its configuration, its new firmware that it needs, and then restores all that information right away. And now you can use that to your advantage to clone different sites or even clone devices. So you can create templates, you can create cookie cutters that you've already, pre-configured, and it's solid, it's been tested, it's true, and you can cookie cutter that to a new site and scan in the devices that you want, and now change maybe some of the SSIDs because it's a different customer, and boom, you're ready to go. All the other configurations are, the same. So you just let it go and it will call home and get all that configuration right away. So you have hassle-free deployment of these products. And no longer do you really need a certified network technician to go on site to do this kind of installation. You can either have it be a install kit type technology. You just have some basic instructions, tell people to plug, internet connection goes into this port on the firewall. The switch, this port plugs into the firewall. And then the access point, that plugs into this port on the switch. And then you power it all on, it calls home, downloads its information, and becomes then your network tech back at the office or back at your NOC will then see it go online and basically say, okay, I see it online, it's downloading firmware. All right, it looks like it's live, go to go. Just test the connection real quick. Okay, you get your go. And then they're done with their installation. So it really helps for you, especially MSPs who may have a reach of, let's say 200 miles. You can expand even further beyond that because of this kind of technology. And again, it doesn't just apply to the switches. All of that applies across the board when you're using our Nebula platform. So we have a very huge variety. Every one of these product series models has probably anywhere between 6, 8, 12 switches within that family because you have non-PoE versions and you have PoE versions. You have 8-port, 48-port, 24-port, different uplinks as well. So it could get a little bit overwhelming, but typically we're here to help you anyways. But it usually will factor in is the 1920 series is probably your best bet because it's Nebula Flex capable. It's that kind of that perfect price point for most applications. And then if you're looking for more complex applications or more sophisticated routing type technologies or higher throughput bandwidth or higher connections of multi-gig, then you kind of step up from there, right? And that's the typical direction that we find people going through. So GS 1920, again, we have data sheets and information on kind of how to pick which products. We also have like a product selector online as well. It's pretty helpful. If you're looking for different types of technologies, you can narrow it down and filter it to what you're looking for. But again, most people are now edging towards the multi-gig connectivity with 10 gig uplinks as they're delivering Wi-Fi 6 that has 2.5 or 5 gig networks, or they have devices, laptops, and systems that come with either 2.5, 5 gig, or 10 gig, right? So we're seeing that push to that new technology as well. Then, of course, the fully layer 2 managed side, GS 2220s, and then you'll have our XS, kind of our concentrator connection aggregator, all 10 gig or multi-gig ports with fiber options and copper options as well. So it's kind of I call it our little Frankenstein of a switch, because it kind of bridges that gap between people who have 10 gig fiber and now moving towards 10 gig copper connectivities for their switch infrastructure. And then you have our PoE injectors. If you're just looking for powering, we have a 5 gig, so 5 multi-gig PoE++. So it provides you 60 watts of power, very affordable. Actually, if you're just looking for a 5 gig kind of single port switch with unmanaged, that's an injector kind of capable. And then the 12-30 watt is our 2.5 gig capable 30 watt. So if you want to use this for VoIP, you want to use it for pan tilt zoom cameras, video conferencing, this is a great way as well to extend that Ethernet and inject power using these technologies. So if you, in those cases where you don't need a full switch, but we don't also have a full range of switches that can provide you that 60 watt power, like our GS 1915 series can provide some of that power. Typically it's a 30 watt PoE technology. So not the ultra PoE, but has a smaller power budget. So these are perfect for small offices and maybe, some VoIP connections, maybe a few access points, but mostly kind of for Ethernet connectivity with and without PoE. So those are available as well. If you're doing things more in the IPTV market, then we have specialized switches for that as well. It gives you extended range capable, so it can go up to 800 feet on Ethernet, on standard Cat Ethernet, and be able to make that connection while still providing the PoE power across that. So a lot of other feature sets that you can find out more about if you are in that space on the surge protection and some of those CCTV features that we have implemented within these devices. The XMG series is something that's coming out end of this year. You'll see those products pop up, and those are our multi-gig. Typically, they're 24 ports of gigabit or 2.5 gig capable copper ports. And then they'll have uplinks that are multi-gig. So 1 gig, 2.5, 5 gig, and 10 gig. So we have 4 of those, and then 2 additional SFP plus 10 gig ports. And then the PoE budgets on the smaller ends, you'll see it's like it can support the 60 watt power and the 30 watt power. So typically it's more of the 30 watt power, and then a few of the ports. In this case, 8 is going to support the higher ultra PoE. And it comes with a 700 watt PoE power. So double the amount of PoE power you'll typically find in like the other 1900 series, the 1920 series. And kind of our mainstream switches are usually like 370, 380 watt type power. So this is a lot higher power than you typically will see. But I'm excited about this product because it does, again, move us forward into multi-gig and providing you that extra power that you need to power up Wi-Fi 6 for up to 8x of those Wi-Fi 6 access points, and then still use the other ports for other applications as well. I know it's a lot to cover, but we're on our last kind of group of products. Security. It's last, but it's also one of the most important as well, because a lot of partners kind of overlook security, especially in businesses today. A lot of them have, just went to a retail shop somewhere, a local store, and just picked up something off the shelf and said, oh, this says it's a business security product, and it's just a basic SPI firewall. And they're using that for their businesses. And so a lot of partners, MSPs, there's a lot of opportunity to go in there and go, you know what, you could use that. That's fine, but it's not safe. It's not secure. And so if you're doing any kind of credit card processing, if you have any kind of customer data information, all of that could be at risk, not even counting the fact that if something happens within the network, then and somebody overtakes it, then the entire business could be hit with ransomware, and there's a lot of headaches and downtime that comes with that as well. And so we want to make sure that your customers are informed and understand the importance, and at least you can convey the importance of security within the network. Zyxel has been certified with the Verizon labs at ICSA for over 20 years now straight. And so all of that does is it helps to confirm that our products are built correctly to interop with other vendors that are also ICSA certified. So the security firewall features, the functions, the VPN connectivity capabilities can interconnect with any other vendors that have also ICSA certified. Of course, it can connect with other vendors that are not as well, but once certified, then it's proven and it's known, and that you've implemented the functionality up to the same standards as required. So then it makes it easier to interop without issues. The security packs that's available manageable within the Nebula Cloud, content filtering, secured Wi-Fi, connect and protect with our APs implementation, UTM security that gives you the content filtering services, the intrusion detection, the antivirus, malware, the ransomware protection, all of that, and the anti-spam within the whole series. And then on the highest end, we have it adds sandboxing and DNS kind of reputation protection and filtering. So a full range of suite if you are looking for just basic VPN connectivity that has UTM services that can block ransomware, block BitTorrent downloads, identify layer 7 applications, then that's UTM. And then the most advanced is for 0-day type attacks, where it's unknown threats that can be then manageable in the cloud, or it's sent to the cloud for analysis and then decided if it's going to be blocked or not. So that's on the sandbox side of technology, in that you may already have experience with the security space. Now, if you've never done security before, we definitely want to help you with that. And so don't be overwhelmed. Don't be, afraid that, I don't understand enough to do that. We'll definitely help you and get you through that learning curve on how to configure best practices of the product and of the network to ensure that you don't run into these kinds of problems. You want to leverage our experience, and you may have your own experience that you could also help with us to, how we can better document implementation of these products so that, it further protects your customers, and we can share that across the community. So Connect and Protect is an implementation that provides kind of ransomware, phishing, malicious internet traffic, both on the firewall side and also can be used on the access point side. So using that in information collected from it to even isolate devices, if necessary, at the access point itself when you're using, Zyxel access points. So we support them in these models for the Connect and Protect. That's where you can see in this new function here, the new column. So across our newer products, but security is important because it's always on. It's always there protecting. Sometimes people don't realize, especially your customers don't see value in it. But what we want to do is bring that to the forefront so that they're seeing what is being blocked, how much bandwidth is or people are using, identifying the threats and seeing how much the product itself and your services are facilitating in the protection of that network. So being able to see that, being able to keep it up to date, using the cloud platform to manage the signatures automatically, to constantly protect against the latest threats. Again, you saw some of the partners that we used earlier, and we have agreements and partnerships with them. So they provide all of the kind of the signature technology. We implement it within our engine, and that's kind of just an automated running system there. So new threats come out, they get protected against, those are pushed to our system, protects your customers and protects the headaches that may result because of those threats. So we want to protect users. We want to protect the business itself and the clients that are there, especially when people are, accidentally clicking things or emails or website links. So we can help to protect against that across the network, across the board. We can do that all centrally. So if you have policies, or maybe your customers are coming up with their multiple site policy or an employee policy across home networks, across maybe a remote access network customer or a client, or multiple sites within that same organization, you can synchronize those policies and say, whether you're at home, connected VPN, whether you're sitting in the office, that connection, and the applications and services that you're protecting against or blocking, maybe websites you shouldn't go to. All of those policies can be managed centrally within the Nebula Cloud platform. It also makes it easy for VPN connectivity as well. So once you've built that VPN connection, you can then apply the policies that are, required to access that VPN connection as well, and then sync that across multiple sites that you're deploying, and makes it a lot easier for you to manage. Especially now in our work from home, work remote, having secure Wi-Fi capabilities, being able to build secure tunnels using VPN, and be able to use two-factor authentication with like a Google Authenticator to build that IPsec VPN makes it very important, because now you're connecting to the office securely and making sure that those policies are being enforced while making those connections. You can also use L2TP as well, but we do recommend IPsec VPN because it's the most flexible and gives you the highest level of security encryption available. But what we've also done is integrated within our APs, certain AP models with our firewall, to provide what we call remote secure Wi-Fi. So the AP can be dropped in at a location, whether it be home, whether it be maybe another remote office, etc. And it will automatically build a tunnel, a layer 2 tunnel through the internet connection back to the office network, and then become basically a kind of an extension of that network. So imagine you have this seamless experience. I go to the office with my laptop. My IT's already configured that to connect to the Zyxel SSID. And when I go home, I have one of these remote APs installed at home without having to change my home router, without having to open up ports, without having to contact my ISP to put it in bridge mode. Any of those things you don't have to do. And there will be a Zyxel SSID that I can connect. My laptop will automatically connect to and utilize 802.1x authentication like it does in the office. And now I have the same experience and connectivity and access to network shares as if I was at the office. So it helps to create that. So a lot of, if you're having challenges on having to deploy or change out maybe a VPN router at home, no longer do you need to do that if you use the space. And it also keeps it secure because now your Wi-Fi access point connection back to your office, it's its own kind of space. You no longer are connecting or mixing yourself with your smart TVs and your refrigerator or anything else that could be compromised, and that could be used as a stepping stone into your network, right? So this is all segregated, and again, keeping that security alive, keeping that segregation happening within that network. You also have the security intelligence using a secure reporter, and this is one of the value adds that you can provide to your customer. Again, if you're charging them $50 a month to have active security managed services, you want to be able to provide them something that they could go, hey, this is tangible information. So you can customize these monthly reports with the information that you want to send them. And again, show them which person's iPhone is the one that used the most bandwidth, or what websites are people going to most. Whatever relevant information you want to provide as a service to the customers can be put into this report, because it identifies all the threats. It can monitor and log everything that you want it to, even outside those normal threats. So you can do that and provide those customized reports to your customer. And it integrates seamlessly with the Nebula platform. So you can click through and see the reporting side. Again, it's all within the cloud. So you don't have to have your own server to collect all this data or this information. It's all built into that system. So as long as you have access to it, as long as the device is sending information, you'll have all those logs in that connectivity log. So we have kind of three spaces there: simplicity, flexibility, ultimate, just like our Wi-Fi, like our switches. Again, a full range of products that have different capabilities, different feature functions. You have your lower end there. USG Flex 50 is the replacement. Basically, it's the rename of our USG 20 VPN models. So it just puts it into the Flex kind of family. Most people will start at the flexibility side, the USG Flex part. It comes with both a hardware version only and one that comes bundled with 1-year licenses. Now, the advantage of using the bundled one out of the gate is that it also includes the secure reporter and 1 year of the Pro license for Nebula as well. So that's probably your best bet if you're going to manage it within the cloud. then it has all your UTM, it has all of your Nebula Cloud capable stuff there. And then if you want to use the sandboxing function, which is our highest end model there, is the ATP series. And so that's kind of the add-on. And it also includes the 1 year of the Nebula platform as well. So kind of those three product lines. Typically, again, I start in the middle, the USG Flex. And if you need more, you get the UTM capable. And if you need even more protection for maybe financial or healthcare, that kind of thing, then you would move to the ATP side of the equation. But we provide high performance UTM, enhanced UTM that can use both standalone or local signatures and cloud signatures as well to maximize throughput, flexible management, both standalone and in the cloud. But we're pushing for cloud because we think that's the easiest place that you can manage all of these in the entire network stack. ATP series gives you that extra sandboxing and enhanced UTM functions with the URL threat management filters. So just some of the examples that we've deployed in, you can connect businesses, whether it be a small office, maybe 5-10 users. Maybe it's a slightly bigger, so you might have to have different types of access points, maybe a PoE switch with 8 ports. You want some management visibility. You might need maybe a higher WAN connection. So you have your USG Flex series that can handle like higher throughput, or maybe it's connecting even a bigger business. So using ATP that requires connectivity, maybe again, it's a financial office that needs higher level of security. Then you throw in a ATP, some management, or larger offices anywhere between, again, 5 to 500 users is ideal. That's the space that we typically play in. If you don't have high density, you can use some of our lower devices. But if you have higher density, more devices, more screens, more video conferencing that's using Wi-Fi, then you want to go to kind of our higher end AX kind of models there with our smart antenna to keep in consideration, or in a classroom, or even in a remote office, like I mentioned earlier, both with VPN or using our secure Wi-Fi connectivity capable connectivity. Or in a hospitality room, we have like in-wall, in-room type access points that are flat mounted. It doesn't need to be on a gain box. It could just be put on the wall under a desk that provides you Wi-Fi coverage while being PoE powered within the facility. Or if you need outdoor access points, we have outdoor access points. We have housings that you can use the indoor product in these housings to kind of give you an economical option to if you don't need any kind of extra directional antennas, or you don't need the heating capabilities of the built-in heaters of some of these bigger access points for that. But we have, again, full line for recreational, for marinas. We've done marinas and campgrounds, truck stops, anything you can think of. We've deployed Zyxel equipment in with our partners. Branch to branch office, you might have multiple facilities, multiple car dealerships that are connecting to each other, both providing Wi-Fi for guests, Wi-Fi for people who are out in the lot, and also interconnecting maybe fiber or internet connectivity between the different buildings within that facility. So those are just some of the examples that we came up with. But also, as partners, we want to make sure you're signed up through our distribution, D&H, Ingram Micro, Synnex, Wave, Target, or Pace International, to getting your partner discounts. Again, we're channel focused. So when you buy through distribution, your pricing should be, as an approved partner, percentages lower than what you would see on an Amazon. So if you're not seeing that, reach out to your sales representative. You may have to provide them with your, let's say, D&H account number, so that we can just check to make sure that your discount's loaded, that you're part of our program. And there's no cost for you to join it anyways. So there are just minimum sale requirements if you want to move up the tiers. Otherwise, you'll be in silver to start. If you can't maintain 6K for a 6-month period, so that's just 1K of MSRP sales for Zyxel, then you become a bronze member. But if you get to 12K, which is 2K per month in MSRP, that's, for most of our customers that we do, it's probably like one project. When you go across the board with switches, gateways, access points, and licensing, and et cetera, then you might be a 12K project. So that automatically bumps you into gold. And if you're close to that, if you think you're close to gold, we're always, increasing people when they hit that tier or very close to that tier. So definitely make that request if you know you're almost to gold and you want that maximum discount through distribution. So let us know so we can get that loaded up. If you want to connect with us as well, we're on LinkedIn, Zyxel-US-channel, or on YouTube, where you can find out more in this video. If you want to rewatch it, or any of our other videos that are available at Zyxel America channel. You can also connect with myself at on LinkedIn as well. You could just look for Try at Zyxel, and you'll find me there as well. So if you have any questions now, this is your time. We have a couple minutes left. It's technically 12, but I'll leave it open if you have any questions. You can send it to me now using the Q&A section. If not, if you could think of it later on, you can email me. It's Tri, at Zyxel.com. So if you don't have any questions, I don't see any right now, but I appreciate your partnership. Thank you for being here. We look forward to working with you and talking to you about any of the solutions applications that you may have. And so we look forward to helping you build out those networks and see how Zyxel can help you, build out those and provide that to your customers and provide a overall better experience with our support, with our, and our products. So we look forward to talking to you again sometime soon at another Tech Talk. Have a good rest of your day, good afternoon, and I hope to talk to you soon. Well, take care. Goodbye.